Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And just know this, wherever you are, just know that you are a shining star. Do you get that? Well, you better get it, and you better take that to heart, okay? Because I'm going to tell you something, and the world's going to find out this really quickly, that if it doesn't have unconditional love and care for itself, okay, we are going to give everything away that we are. Most people have already given away everything that they are, and they don't even know how to get it back. We're going to talk today and put our hands into the ground, and we're going to be talking to Cameron James. And Cameron James is a architectural designer of food forests, and he goes around the world and he designs actual food forests for people, their front yards, backyards. He teaches people how to actually get not just independence, but interdependence, because guess what? When you're in charge of your own food, there goes the heavy metals. When you're in charge of your own food, there goes the GMOs. When you're in charge of your own food, there goes the pesticides, herbicides. Oh my God, there goes the genocide. It's gone to. So when you're in charge of your own food, okay, that little sprout, okay, that you just grew, into a food, whatever that food is, it doesn't have to travel 2,000, 4,000 miles to you or get gassed at the border, okay? It doesn't have to be, how can I say this? It doesn't have to be aged just too long, okay? So the reality is this, guess what? We gave it all away. Okay, you know, government is a very tricky thing. Okay, you know, they're like, how can I say this? They are control freaks. And guess what? Because we've become lazy, we've handed everything off to them. And if you think I'm kidding, you wait until you see the atomic bomb that's going to go off in the next few weeks to just a few months, because nobody's prepared for what's going to happen. Because guess what? You said, look after my health. Look after my food. Look after keeping me warm. Look after me in every which way. I'll just watch Netflix. And I'm not kidding. The majority of the population has actually opted out of living. You know, they're in survival mode, not thrival mode. And the reality is this: how do we wake them up? How do we lovingly wake people up? Okay, I know that we're doing our best. We're coming out with what's called the Braveheart Nation app. And this app is 95% free, and it is to help to unite the whole world in unconditional love and care for themselves and for each other. Wouldn't it be great if there was no divisions between belief systems, religions, color, okay, ethnic groups, or anything like that? What if you never judged yourself or anyone again, but you just observed? That's what we teach. I teach what's called Whole Life Coach Certification. Dr. Sage Wolf teaches Wolf Non-Surgical, the most powerful body work. I teach the most powerful mind and nutritional work in Whole Life Coach. And then we also have the pelvic course, and we're going on a world tour. Check it out, braveheartnation.com. We'll be in Barrie, Canada, okay, and we'll be there just near the end of February. And I'll be doing free lectures there, and then the whole New World Practitioner, and then we're taking it to Sacramento, California. Then we're taking it to Stuart, Florida. Then we're going to Australia. Then we're going to Rhodes, Greek. Then we're going to England. And then we're coming back here to Ixtapa. And just what I opened up again, that I had opened over a year and a half ago, but then we went on tour. Well, remember when I used to have the Ixtapa World Healing and Training Center? It would house 200 people. Well, during the period that we had it 60 to 100% full. Think about that. Well, now we've decided that no, we're not doing that again. So I have a really beautiful place. It's very private. It looks like it's right in the middle of the jungle here in Ixtapa. 4 big, beautiful rooms. It can house 8 people comfortable. And we're going to be doing personal treatment and trainings for couples, for families, up to an 8 group. And you're going to have red carpet service. We're going to be teaching you emotionally, physically, nutritionally, how to look after yourself. We'll have a Cellsonic there, cardio med bed. There'll be a Bioptron and Avicin in every room. There'll be the most powerful red light therapy there. The pool in the back will be structured and ozonated, okay? You will have fresh organic juices made for you all day long. Okay, and we will teach you from the moment you rise until you close your eyes how to have a perfect day. And guess what? You'll never have to detox again. Did you hear that? I don't detox. God, you only need to detox if you're going to become toxic. And guess what? If you want to have the same mindset as most of the health practitioners out there in the world, then you'll be doing parasite cleanses and detoxes. Oh man, I feel really shitty. It's time I should do a cleanse. You know, oh man, it's time to do a parasite cleanse. Well, guess what? What if you did gentle baby loving steps and you had the perfect day and you never became toxic again? What if you never got parasites? And what if you never had heavy metals build up? You can't do a heavy metal cleanse without having to do another one. You can't do a parasite cleanse without having to do another one. Why not just create a perfect day? Go and check out pdgfree.com. That's Perfect Day Guide. That's my Perfect Day Guide, pdgfree.com. It's a 550-page guide. You'll have more take action. If you were to learn everything in that guide, you would be more powerful than 99% of the health practitioners out there. Did you get what I just said? Because 99% of the health practitioners out there, okay, all right, God love them, but they're just stroking and they're treating, they're not training. And remember something, a strategy is only as powerful as a strategy is. And if all of these health practitioners were really hitting it on the head, they should be offering a money-back guarantee like us and actually putting their money where their mouth is for results. And this is why I brought on Jim Gale and Food Forest Abundance, because they are creating food forests all over the world, front yards, backyards, people with apartments, teaching them how to grow food even in their apartment. So don't limit yourself to this. Understand this. And we're going to be talking to Cameron James today and understand something. Okay? Okay. He's got his head in the right place. He's got his heart in the right place. And he definitely knows what he's talking about. Cameron?
What's up, Daryl?
I don't know. Why don't you tell everybody what's up?
Oh man, there are so many good things going on. To feed off of what you started with here, is that this really is about removing the poisons, building ecosystems, living in harmony with nature. There's so much intelligence around us, and we're trying to control it and manipulate it in a way. Let's work in harmony with nature.
The reality is whether you want to believe this or not, but if you brought on Food Forest Abundance, you wouldn't have to do a detox program.
Preach.
Because guess what? You'd be taking yourself and putting yourself into a situation where the majority of the population was 250 years ago.
Let's further that, Daryl. You walk out of your front door and you have access to the fruits and to the veggies and to the herbs and to the medicines, everything really at your fingertips, seasonally, organic, chemical free, fresh right off the vine, straight to the kitchen, crafted and created and cooked in the way that you want it, really, literally at your fingertips.
But Cameron, what am I going to complain about now? Okay, I won't have anything to complain about. Okay,
you might have a couple plants that get some aphids, and you'll have to balance your ecosystem out. I'm sorry, Daryl.
Okay, all right.
You might have to throw the fishing pole in the pond and then reel it back in and figure that game out.
Yeah, that's true, everybody. You know what? I tell everyone, where's your Braveheart contract? Sit down and tell yourself the way you need life to be, and then tell it to the universe and find out what they think of it. Cameron? Listen, Cameron, can you share with us the core philosophy behind Food Forest Everywhere?
Yeah, well, it's Food Forest Abundance, and the philosophy is Food Forest Everywhere.
Okay, so what does that look like? What does that look like? You know, when you say that, that's really nice, but what does it look like? You know, does it mean that I at some day, maybe some point, I'll walk down the sidewalk and I can just take a watermelon from my friend's front yard, or what?
I do believe that we're moving that direction, Daryl. So actually, let me start with the freshest news. Is today I'm really at a 14-acre property that's about 15 minutes from Galt's Landing. If you guys have not been to Galt's Landing, that is the hub for Jim Gale, for Food Forest Abundance, and really the actual demonstration site of everything that we're talking about. So we're not talking about a concept that or an idea that would be nice. We're talking about an actual system that we're living in, right? That we're duplicating. So today we're over at the 14 acres.
Well, before you go on to the 14 acres, can I tell everyone that I've been there 3 times to Jim's place in Galt's Landing, and that it is a Food Forest Abundance. And when you walk through there, yeah, it's off grid. And just know this, everyone, they can go there and they can stay there and you will have the most beautiful training and treatment, and it's called nature. So, you know, you'll be going through that, right? On how they contact everyone, right? Let me just put here, there's your
Absolutely.
contact information right there, see?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You guys can go to the website. It's everything from whether, hey, I just want to talk to a permaculture designer, whether it's myself or somebody else from our team, and just learn a little bit about what's possible with your landscape. Unless you want, or if you want an actual design, you can actually get a design for your property. Or maybe you're looking at this from an investment standpoint, where say, hey, I want to invest myself, my time, my resources, my money, my relationships. I want to put my energy into creating another hub, another land, another Galt's Landing that can be a place for people to come visit and actually experience this. And something that you said, Daryl, I think is important to talk about is, I think that, I've seen it. When I'm in this environment and people come in here, they're just blown away. We don't even have to sit here and have this type of conversation with all the details of it because they're standing in it. We stop
The
talking
vibe,
about it.
they change, their vibration changes. It aligns them, brings them back into harmony, and they go, why do I feel love for myself and the whole world? Cameron?
That part I can't explain, but I can tell you that I see it time and time again. We stop looking at it and analyzing it and trying to dissect it logically. Logic has its place, but when you're standing in this experience, you're having this sensory overload of everything that is just supporting our innate intelligence to just be well, to be whole, right? To have
We're
all those
organic. Everybody, you need to get that. We're organic. So those of you that want to become cyborg, just know it's going to be a real big jump, okay? Because we're organic, and when we go into like a food forest abundance, every cell, 50 trillion cells and 500 trillion bacteria are going, honey, I'm home, even if you're not alert to it yet. Cameron?
That's the biggest thing that I hope that everybody gets out of anything in our conversation today, Daryl, is that somebody goes and actually gets into the environment, or go take a freaking hike, right? Like, get in nature, right? I just think it would be smart if we used our land intelligently and invested into it in a way that created productivity that supported life. See, if we support life, then humans are supported by that ecosystem, right? But why not support everything? The birds, the bees, the butterflies, the fish, all the wildlife. If we support it all, there's an abundance.
Yeah, just think about this, everyone. Just think about it. That's all I'm saying. If you could watch one of the videos with Jim walking through the food forest abundance, picture that on your front lawn. Seriously. For one thing, people can't be peeking in the windows as easy. But the reality is picture that on your front lawn. How many more different birds, bees, butterflies, you know what? They're trying to drive natural out. We need to bring natural in. And what are these lawns really doing? And remember something, most of those lawns, am I right, Cameron? That there's these guys after work and they think they're the two-gun kid, and they come out with glyphosate, Roundup, and they're just spraying their lawn, and they just like little kids going poisoning everyone.
Daryl, I watched this. This was yesterday, actually. I was out with my wife. We were having coffee with some friends. I look across the street, and there is these trees and shrubs right on the ground next to a parking lot. And these guys come in and they start raking the leaves out. They pull the leaves out. So you have the effort, right? Like, he is manually doing something. He's taking it, he's putting it into a plastic bag. You have a guy behind him that yanks on his leaf blower. Now he's burning fuel. And you got three other guys standing around. One of them's got the truck running with the air conditioner running. The other one's holding the plastic bag, bagging it up, throwing it in the back of the truck. Meanwhile, if it was just left alone, if they just did nothing, they didn't have to do something, just did nothing, it would actually support the ecosystem, create habitats for life, create healthy trees. And then therefore, if you have certain species that are edible, now you've grown food by doing nothing.
Let me tell you something. I can't wait until all the people that have been poisoning themselves from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's have all this snot running out of their body because their body's trying to detoxify, and then we'll all get to go do bacterial soap again, because that is the same definition of what they do when they rake up those leaves that are actually protecting those microorganisms and helping them to actually flourish, okay? It's like the person that takes antibiotics and it goes in and it blows up the bad bacteria, and then it blows up the good bacteria, then the person is damaged and they're full of fungus for like years to come. I mean, you know what? We are morons. We're morons. And you know what? If we just take a look at nature and we have these moronic beliefs, and I'm not calling anybody specifically a moron, but they have given all these moronic beliefs to us that we cannot be sterile enough. And that's why the fertility thing, that's why right now, compared to 5 years ago, we are 40% more infertile than we were in 5 years. Did you know that, Cameron? 5 years, 40% down. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So now just think about this. The condom industry is probably going to go out of business. I'm kidding. I'm trying to tell you, everything is so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
You know, if I can bring a little bit more of the graceful side to this, we've only been farming the way we've been farming for around 100 years. You can call it industrial farming if you want, right? So good intentions or bad intentions, I'm going to push aside just for a moment here and say that we as humans have now evolved to the point where we understand nature. Because remember, science is only a record of the past. That we're living under science, right? So all possibility is outside of it. We just haven't studied it, observed it, and come to a current conclusion. So science has told us a certain something, so we lived a certain way. We've since furthered our science and we now understand, let's just call it nature, call it ecosystems, call it forest, all these things. We understand these things in a way that we didn't before, right? So now that we understand it, when you know better, you can do better. Like in actuality, I know that what I'm spraying in my property currently is designed to destroy. If I now know that if I put something else into my landscape, around my property, into my living situation, into my community, I can now create an effect that doesn't have to destroy something, but that can balance something out and create something productive that we can live off of. So we're not talking about something that's far-fetched at all. We've just evolved to the point where we now understand how to do it, and that's exactly what we are doing.
And that's why, guys, this is not the end times. This is the beginning of everything that we've always wanted. And it truly is. And you know what? I got to tell you, I'm on the phone a lot. And I give my phone number out, Cameron, and everybody's talking to me with desperation, fear, barely any hope. And it's not true. It's not true. But everybody needs to come together. And the food issue is an issue because that's their chokehold on us, bigger than anything else. That's our chokehold now. Okay, Cameron, do you want to maybe help me out?
Yeah, it's man, there's so many good ways to take it. I'll share a funny story. Had to do with me and my buddy and I are fishing on Friday, and we're out there throwing in our poles, trying to catch these fish. And you hear these fish jumping up, trying to catch the mosquitoes and the bugs. And then you see the spider web sitting across the grasses over there, also trying to catch the bugs. And there's a natural ecosystem, right? But because me and my friend had access to a pond and we had enough knowledge to go out there and say, hey, if I throw my pole into the water, I can reel a fish in and I can skin it and I can bring it home and I can have, it's quite an experience, to be honest with you, just putting that out there. But now because I know how to do that, I can feed myself. Most people don't even know where their food comes from. And when they do, it's riddled with poisons, right? And everything like that. So now that we have the knowledge, we're cool. If I stick a fruit tree in my yard, and I put some stuff around it, I now have the knowledge to access things that currently I'm dependent on somebody else to do it. And I mean, if we need to sit here and talk about the thousands of miles and the fossil fuels that gets burned and the amount of labor and everything and the effort, just the effort team that it goes to create food for people is not sustainable. And I do, when I use that word real quick, I need to define sustainable because that word is so thrown around in our world. I've had people go like, don't even use that word anymore. And I was like, no, let's define it the right way. A sustainable system is a system that generates more energy over its lifetime than it consumes. So when you look at a forest, when you look at a water catchment system, when you look at a garden, if you can generate more energy that supports life from this system that you've created, that by definition is sustainable. But the only way we can have a sustainable system is within it, we must have regenerative practices. Now we start getting into compost. Now we start getting into water catchment. Now we start getting into, if we can get the poisons out of our soaps and everything on the inside of our house, our gray water that runs out of our house now no longer needs to go into a septic tank where it's a bunch of waste, but I can run it into a pond and have plants that are designed to cleanse the water so I can reuse it to irrigate my garden, right? So we can actually create these systems that support life, and they're less effort, less stress.
I love it. And you know what? It's all just natural. And you know, when you're talking, because you have your thing, I have my thing, and I'm thinking about how you're talking about sustainable. And another thing that's not sustainable is not having hope, having fear. It's not sustainable. You get people that have faith, you get people that have a strategy, and they have a clear direction. Okay, that's sustainable. That's sustainable. So everything is vibration, guys. Everything is about vibration. Everything is frequency, and we just got to bring it up on all levels in our life. And this is what you guys do, whether it's permaculture, electroculture, but you guys do it all, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything should be reinvested back into the system. And I'm not, yes, financial investment, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the byproducts of, of fish scraps and food scraps. And if you don't bring in the plastics and everything like that, you don't have a bunch of waste you're sending to the landfill, right? So that means we need to access everything from the land. Something else you said, Daryl, as respectfully as I can say this, there is people that are just sharing shit on the internet, and it's all about what not to do. It's all about how the government's doing this. It's all about how this person's doing this. And I mean, I can use you guys and what we're doing as an example of, like, we're actually offering a solution. So to just highlight, hey, this is why you're a slave. This is what's not working. To just do all that and just highlight that, you're not actually giving people an underground railroad per se, right? Like there's nothing to turn to. So I love you and your team's work that you're actually offering the real world solution and the actionable steps to take to support them moving in that direction, right? And obviously I feel like we're doing the same thing by going in and actually saying, this is what you can tangibly do to actually support yourself.
Well, you know why? Because you guys don't try to fix something that's broken. Everybody wants to fix the medical system. Everybody wants to fix the government. There's nothing to fix. It was created to destroy. And I'm not saying, trying to be negative. Tell me that, sorry, we can't do that. We've tried our best, and, we've gotten all the greatest minds together, and we just can't figure out why your little girl has a fever. But, the reality is that nature holds all the keys, and I don't hold the keys, and I don't want anybody to think that. Everything that I am and everything that I can do, Cameron, I can teach an 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. There is nothing highly intelligent about me. It's only logic and natural, and an 8-year-old could do a better job than me because they still have a better imagination than I do. And I'm not putting myself down. I'm telling the God's truth on this show. Okay? Yeah. And everything that I teach, an 8-year-old can understand and teach it better than I can because of their imagination. And with imagination, you have knowledge. And if you have no imagination, then you can't even think what a food forest is. You can't even get out of your plastic bag.
Dude, kids, I mean, I feel like you put kids into the land, into the garden, outside. Just watch them. They're already doing what we're trying to learn to do. You know what I mean? Like we're running around trying to teach people permaculture and stuff. Go watch the kids play in the land. Give them some seeds. Watch.
It's not our fault, but we don't vibrate as high as the sprout we're trying to grow. They do. They come in with full of spirit. That little plant that you're growing that will become a tree that will bear fruit, it came here to feed us. So it said, I'm going to give you my fruit spirit. All right? These kids already know it without even being told. Somebody else goes out there and thinks, oh my God, what if I get bacteria on my hands? Then I'd have to go get bacterial soap. No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we've been over germified, right? So that's, man, it's so
just... you are a leader, Food Forest Abundance, and your positivity is amazing. And when I met you at Jim's place, like, I mean, even just 100 meters away, So, everybody, if you get a chance to have Cameron design a Food Forest Abundance for you, to have him around for a while, You know, he's just going to share what naturally is already in him. All right.
Absolutely, Daryl. This is it's an honor to do this work. It really is.
Yeah.
When you just there's just stuff that that's like, wow, I've kind of got to that thing in my life where like this is the thing I'm supposed to serve. You know what I mean? And I think that has made life so beautiful, is to find that thing that you are passionate about and to serve it in a way that supports community. And we're really doing it. Like we are going into people's property and we are ripping out the unsustainable grass and everything else that's not supporting that family, and putting something in that's actually creating a lasting result it's a living, breathing system. I mean, it's like having a child. And I mean, even our team is like intimately connected to this system when we build it and we leave, right? It's like your baby that you left with somebody. And it just creates those real bonded relationships, true community. You know what I mean? There's that local community that you do life with, people that are in physical proximity to you. And then there's those that maybe are a little bit further out of that sphere. And it's creating the healthy web, in my opinion, for sure.
Okay, you're my fourth show in the series with Food Forest Abundance. Yeah. And I need someone to walk me through step by step. I've got a lawn.
Okay.
Walk me through. I'm making my first phone call to you. And
cool.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Nobody does this, so I need to have this done. I'm making my first phone call. I want you to go all the way through a phone call to the point that now you leave, and it's like, Daryl, this is your baby, but if you need us, you know where we are.
Cool.
Can you do that?
I love it. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
You would get in contact with Food Forest Abundance. If you go on there, put your details in, basically you get connected with a permaculture designer. It might be me, it might be all, our.
What is
our
that?
handful.
Just foodforestabundance.com?
Yep.
Okay,
super simple. Yep. And if you go on there, you have what's called a strategy session. And the strategy session is designed to, again, just kind of open our mind and just hear like what's possible. Some of the stuff that we're talking about right now, right? Saying like, this is what I can do with my lawn. This is what it looks like. Right. This is what it is. This is what I wanted to produce. So you start to learn, right? From that point, you say, okay, cool. I would love to get a design because I want veggies. I want fruit. I want a passive system. I want a pollinator garden, right? Like I want to just bring beauty to my yard, like whatever it is, right? So then you go through a series of conversations with a designer, and that's just your typical rough draft, first draft, second draft. Cool. That's what I want. Awesome. I got this blueprint. It shows what I got. This is where the things are going to be at in my yard. These are the elements of the design. And then you would get connected with somebody. This is where I would more so come in at this point of the project, which would be the installation aspect. Actually, no, pardon me. Let me digress for a second here. From that point on, if you want to just do the installation yourself and plant this thing and go get the trees and go get all the materials, we actually deliver a packet and a little pamphlet. It's a narrative. It tells a story of how you can actually go put this in the lawn yourself. So again, being more cost effective, getting connected to the land, it's all right there for you, right?
Okay, so but being more cost effective, am I actually being effective?
If you want to do the work, then yes. But if you don't and you want some help getting it in, that's where myself and our team comes in. Okay,
listen, whether it comes from IKEA or you, okay, every time I put things together, I always have leftovers. So I'd rather have your team come and do it. That's my style. Perfect. I would want to be, can I at least be with you when you're doing it and understand the procedure? I mean, that's okay, right?
Absolutely, of course. We've had a couple people come out and help them. They helped us, or we helped them, however we want to look at it.
That's how I'd like to do it. When cool. As soon as I am going to do it, but right now I'm just looking for property. But the reality is I would want to have somebody come.
Absolutely.
All right, because I want it done right, and then I would watch how it's done.
Cool. We'll go back to the blueprint. So once somebody's got that blueprint in hand, they get connected with the closest installer. Again, it might be myself, it might be some of the other partners that we have. And then you create a scope, and that's just a plan for installation, saying these are the materials we need. This is the time to do it. This is the best time of year to plant it. Might want to do it in the spring, depending on where you're located. And then we go in and actually can do that installation. We're an all-in-one service, so we bring in all the trees, all the material, and we do it for you.
It's all about strategy, isn't it? And you know, when you've nailed the strategy, you nail it. And that's what I tell my staff. Everything needs a strategy, and you guys have nailed this. So
I would say the word that we use, again, it is strategy, but it's design. We always talk about like it's design. Everything's designed intentionally. There's a reason why those plants are positioned. I mean, dude, we take in effect the amount of sun, the rainfall, the direction, the shade, the soil type. We're looking at all of it. Like, why wouldn't we look at the whole situation and say, what's the most intelligent thing to do with your property, right? So we're
Whoa,
not just looking
see,
at it and
there
saying,
it
hey, this would
is.
be
There
cool.
it is. Right.
Yeah.
I want to
There's a-
see the sunset and the sunrise every day. So the
Yep.
reality is you are giving their plants the best chance for thriving and for abundance.
Yeah. Good, healthy. You know, it's funny. All the work of talking about the healthy gut, it's the same thing with these food forests, you guys. If we build healthy soils, you will have healthy plants. So again, we got to get the poisons out, build the healthy soil, bring in all this stuff. And again, I'm not going to get into that in this moment. But
But we
the
can't. Can I cut in for a second? Because
Yeah.
when you say that, just know this, everyone: the soil, okay, needs the right compost. All right. So what you put in your mouth becomes the compost in your gut, and that's why we have gut-brain disconnection. But it's not. It's large intestine brain disconnection, because it's not your gut and it's not your small intestine, it's not your stomach, it's your large intestine, because your large intestine is the compost for the human body, and that's why people are rotting out, because they're not fermenting organic foods, they're putrefying processed foods. That's all. Cameron?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You make me think of again, we actually will go into some people's systems and just build soil up front.
You
right?
have to.
Again, like probably how you guys are doing the same thing, like just treat the gut, you know, everything else will come after it, but like focus on the gut from the beginning. And that's what we do. We will come in and just build soil. We won't even plant anything, right? So you literally start, in actuality, you start from the inside out. And if you can build that healthy soil, that's everything in these systems.
Okay, well, you only have issues in your soil when your soil doesn't have the microorganisms. You only have issues in your tissues when your bowel doesn't have the right organisms. Cameron.
And what is that done? By putting poisons in our body, in our diets, in the same way that we're spraying all the glyphosates and everything in our world today. So it's the same exact analogy.
Yeah, I got it. I get it.
I think
do.
you get it.
I do. So that's great. I didn't know that. See, nobody ever said it that way. You know, where the plants are going to be for the sun, for the rain, the type of temperature. This plant shouldn't be near this plant, and this plant we can't grow in your climate, but we can grow this one. I mean,
Yep, this is why it's all designed, Daryl, because it's, again, I love the ambition, right? People go in and they just stick fruit trees in their ground. I love it. Let's keep doing it. You know what I mean? But we also can further that, right? Like we can further that with education and understanding that becomes wisdom through experience.
And real science, right? And real science.
And
right?
real science, yeah. Like
real science.
You studied it. This is what it should do. We do it, and you watch the results of it. So again, there's just people out there that are planting fruit trees, and I love it, but they're doing it like in grass, and it's got grass at the roots. It's like, it's great, but let's further that and start to do it in ways that mock nature, right? And again, I'm like kind of entering into what it looks like without going super detailed into it. But like when you look at a forest, there's a certain way that it grows. So let's mock it that way. And there's not a ton of grass growing at it. So we kind of take the grass out.
Yeah, I know. And not just that, but like you were saying, everybody's got to rake up all the leaves and they can't let it. Well, anyways, yeah.
I mean,
you know, the only reason why we don't like the leaves is because we were told not to.
Yeah, because you gotta have grass that looks like this, right? You gotta have the grass that looks a certain way. I have there's these guys that come in and they do the mulching, right? They cut the trees down and then they throw it in the back and they take it to the dump. You guys, there are cutting down trees, which again, that's not a bad problem. Every once in a while, a good prune is okay, right? But then we use the gas to drive across town, paying the labor to somebody to pay money to dump it into the landfill. I tell people, if you can stick fruit trees in mulch, which is all those yard scraps, you will have food. And I get it. It's an oversimplified way of looking at it. But let's start from the simplification up to where an 8-year-old, like you said, can understand it. And then we can build, then we can get more complex. So it really is that simple, you guys, that take the natural resources that are available to us and just plug them in a way, like we're talking about contouring the land and designing the landscape in a way that supports all this. So I don't know how long this call was supposed to do, but if this is a call to action for people to band together with others around them that can share resources to build these systems, because I don't need to, whatever it is, fear mongering of like what could happen and what should happen with our food industry. I don't even have to go that far to know that it's already broken or it's already doing what it was designed to do, which is not to support you. So either way of looking at it.
So we know so it never was broken. So
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
broken. It was designed to break us. And,
Yes.
that's why it would be nice if we all got along. Okay.
Yeah. So let's band together with people. Let's put our resources together
Yeah.
because some people have time, some people have knowledge, some people have experience, some people have tools, some people have money, some people have just relationships, right? Like these are all forms of resources. And then you get into the actual resources, like who's got land, right? Who's got water on their land? Who's got forest and yard waste scraps and mulch and cardboard even and their food scraps that they can save and all this stuff. So let's band together with people and put our resources together. And if somebody needs to learn how to do that, that's why we're here. We're here to
So
have those conversations with people.
Okay, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what are some of the challenges that people run into when they do try to do a food forest. Like, not that we're not. There's always some challenges, but I want people to I want to talk about them because I think when we talk about them, we get rid of the fears that they've all been done before. So it's like all these challenges have been worked out by you guys. So what are some of the challenges we might face?
Absolutely. It was a expected maintenance, expected effort, right? Like how much to be involved. I am not the guy that's going to sit here and tell you there's no effort in these systems. Absolutely not. That's like saying you can have a child
Right,
and they'll be
right.
okay forever. But can I tell you that if you can care for your baby at a young age, that when they get older, they'll probably be more self-reliant on themselves because they will now have the ability to take care of themselves. That
Yeah,
part,
but a food forest is not like a garden. It's not weeding. It's
Correct.
not. No, the maintenance has got to be at least 80% less. So we're not talking about garden maintenance. We're talking about forest maintenance, right?
Yes. So I'll tell you, I haven't been in my food forest, which is 25 yards from me right now. I haven't been in that thing in 4 months. And I got bananas growing. I got loquats coming in. We've had some citrus. And I'll be honest, my last year was more about getting a system in place rather than it was high production, which I think is a good mentality from the beginning. Instead of focusing on how much we're getting from it, let's focus on building a healthy system, right? But like I haven't been in there in the last 4 months and there's food growing. You know what I mean? Like there's herbs and medicinals and salad makings that I can go out there right now and pull stuff out and make a meal or make medicine or make a salad from, right? And they say the first 3 years is what is it? It's creep, grow, leap. So my first year was apparently a creep, right? Like creeping, like very growing very slowly, right? And I'll tell you what, it definitely grew a lot. So those who are going to reap the benefits are going to be those that are doing it right now. If it's like, hey, well, let me go over here and I need to go change this situation. I need to make this money. I need to do this thing over there and I'll plant it later. One thing you can't speed up is the growth of a tree. It's going to grow. 3 years of tree growth is 3 years of tree growth. So you might as well plant it now, you know?
I get it. I really do. In your experience, how do food forests impact a community dynamics? Okay. So I know that people might think, oh, but how does it change people around that aren't the ones who even planted it? Because it does affect everybody.
I have not seen a more giving industry that just shows up for each other. They just do. Everybody's like, man, how can I help? I just want to be there. When, how can I learn? When can I come out? What can I contribute? Right? Like we're at the challenge of like setting things up to make sure we can get people out. You know what I mean? And making ourselves available. It's more of that than can we get people around? People want to help. They want to learn. And for anybody that's in the garden industry, they know that when you go over to a fellow gardener, they're like, here, take some tomatoes, take some peppers, or take this plant. I can't take care of them. Do you need something? Right? We're always giving
I know. Well,
away.
your third year in, I'm sure you can't eat all the food.
Yeah. Tell me somebody that grows food for themselves.
What do you mean?
You can't. You grow. There's so much that you grow.
Oh no, you can't. Especially after the third year, you've got to give it away.
That's what I'm saying. You always have a surplus. You're always like, here, take these. I can't eat them fast enough. They're rotting.
Did everybody get this? Did everybody get this? There's not enough food for anyone. Well, guess what? We could have 100 billion people on this planet, and there's enough room for everyone. So forget the 8 billion thing. The 100 billion, you know what? Everything is a belief system. And that's all it is, everybody. I mean,
here's a cool story with at Galt's. Mike got what's called a sweet potato slip. So for those of you that don't know, sweet potatoes grow on vines, right? Okay. So there's a vine that was about 12 to 15 inches, right? and it has these little nodes on it where if you stick it in the ground, it'll start growing again. That's the
Okay.
point, right?
All
So
right.
now Jim gave Mike one sweet potato slip, one sweet potato plant. He took it home and planted it. I believe it was 2.5 years ago. This last year, he had 100 pounds of sweet potatoes from one slip. That's what we're talking about. Like, that's the magnitude of what we're doing here. And there's plants in certain regions, in certain grow zones that are very effortless, or what we call low maintenance plants. My theory and what we're doing is like, yeah, plant the beautiful fruit trees that people want because we want those. But let's plant what I call the short cycle foods. So things here in Florida would be the gingers, the turmerics, the sweet potatoes, the cassavas, which are all things that grow underground. You talk about the leafy greens and the herbs. You can start making salads and even dressings for those salads, right? You can even get into tinctures and stuff that's a little bit more advanced, but it's there. But then you get into things like bananas and plantains and papayas. These are things that when you put them in the ground, you could be eating from them in anywhere from 3 to 9 months, maybe a little bit more, right? So we can start creating systems that are highly productive from the very beginning and still have our more exotic fruit trees, our avocados and our mangoes. Again, we're in Florida, so I'm going to talk to the plants that are out here, right? And allow those to mature over time, because we know those become very big and they produce a lot. But let's plant the stuff that's easy.
And now you're not freaking out about heavy metal cleanse, parasite cleanse. And the reason why people don't realize this, why you have to do so many parasite cleanses, is because of the herbicides and the pesticides actually create issues in your tissues and bring down the vibration and the frequency and the integrity of every cell. And so what happens is that parasites, you don't eat them and they stay in you. You actually grow them inside of you. When your tissue starts to decompose, you call on the worms. And that's you do know that, Cameron, that 99% of all worm problems were not something you ate, but something that you became. A low vibrational being that actually created. Well, let me ask you a question. Just for a quiz, and then we'll get right back to this.
Yeah.
So now I see there's a fruit bowl, and all these fruit flies are flying around the fruit bowl. What, did they sound out a horn to call in the fruit flies from around the world? Where'd they come from, Cameron? Where'd the fruit flies come from? They were born from the fruit that was decomposing. The worms that are in human beings, nobody wants to talk about it. You actually created the worm from the invisible to the physical because you're decomposing because of the low vibrational food you're eating. End of story.
It's a beautiful example, because I've definitely said people might refer to it as mold, right? When you keep your fruit on the counter and that mold starts to grow on the side of that orange, where'd it come from? Like you just said, it's deep.
Because mold actually lives at a lower vibration than zero. Everything has a vibration. And the greatest thing to create mold for a human being is an antibiotic. An antibiotic vibrates below zero. So when you take an antibiotic, it doesn't do any damage here, doesn't do any damage here, doesn't do any damage here. As soon as it gets to the compost, which is the large intestine, that the vibration of the antibiotic actually takes the yeast, turns it into mold, and then guess what? You turned on a specific type of mold that is supposed to be in you in a high quantity when you're dying or dead, because that's what we call leaky gut. That mold then drills holes through you because it's actually getting you ready for the soil.
Wow. And that's where it becomes the good compost, because again, as Jim always says, in permaculture, we turn the problem to the solution. So that food goes back into the system. But that is good to know. I definitely need to, there's always another level to learn. So thank you, Daryl.
Well, that was just my little nugget. Now I've got all the rest to learn too, okay?
We're always learning something.
Yeah. So again, I want you to address, because this is really important. This is our fourth show. I want you to address everything that you've ever heard, why a person would love to do it, but the partner or the husband or the wife says, no, we can't. What are the obstacles that get caught up in people's minds that aren't really an obstacle?
Cool. Well, I'm going to push the financial one aside and just say that obviously that's a conversation for people to have, but the actual system, right? Again, number one is, I'll kind of say it again, which would be the amount of maintenance and care and whatnot. So there is some love that goes into these systems, but when
I know, but how much time is that? Like break it down, because people need this broken down into bit-sized bites. Like, it's like, okay, so when we first do it, let's say it's this big, you're going to need to spend at least 3 hours out there a week, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I would say, so I have a food forest that, let's say it's about the size of a basketball court. I'm trying to think of something that somebody can
That's
kind of see
good.
in there,
That's good. Basketball court.
That's about, and I would say for the first 6 to 9 months, I was out there for a couple hours a week.
Are you serious? That's it?
Yeah. Now, granted, I am probably out there more walking through it because I love being in my food forest. But
So you didn't need to, okay. I know, but the work was 2 hours a week?
I would say 3 or 4.
I know, but if that's work, then you just need to keep on going to the supermarket, because that shouldn't be work.
It's true. Yeah, because I was going to say, I probably put more in, but it was more out of me wanting to be there. I didn't need to do anything to sit. And by the way, I do actually a little bit of a disclaimer. I do want to say this is after it's been put into the ground. By the way, this is like after what we would call installation. So obviously the work to put it in the ground can take a couple of days if you bring in a crew to get it done. But once it's in the system, the care for it regularly, yes, I would say a couple hours a week. But this is also, like I said, I haven't been out in it in 4 months. You know what I mean? And it's still growing and thriving and whatnot. So that is the difference between, this is a good insert right here, Daryl, is using permaculture, using perennial plants. And perennial plants are ones that'll come back every single year. They might die back because it's too hot or because it's too cold, but they die back. But they will either seed themselves or they will grow back from their roots. When we intentionally design using a majority of perennial plants, it becomes less effort in inputs because they will come back on their own.
And so guess what? A garden will choke itself out.
Exactly.
Where perennials won't choke themselves out. They can stand the test of time.
Yep.
Because they're not hybrids.
Yes, exactly. I always say that veggies have just been phased out in the natural ecosystem because they're not as strong and durable anymore, right? And that's probably the most accurate way that I've seen it, is they just can't fend for themselves anymore. You can put them in, you can baby them and get food from them, great, but they can't compete on their own, right?
No.
So yeah, I think that's a good insert when it comes to the amount of effort and whatnot, because most people think I plant in my garden and then I step away from it and it overgrows and grows crazy and I can't maintenance it.
No, that's not how people think. They think that if they're going to plant a garden, they got to be out there every night. You know, and I just want to make that really clear that, you're talking 2 hours a week, and yeah, I mean, you got to love it. I mean, it's going to bring you back.
If I can even, just using what I was saying as an example though too, if it overgrew, what if it was perennial edible plants? What if they overgrew? My longevity spinach is going crazy out there, dude. I couldn't eat it all. The CISO spinaches, they're going crazy over there. I can't eat them all. So what if the overgrowth was edible?
And just think if you juice them. Oh my God. So, guys, I love juicing. Like, you guys can believe this or not, but I mean, for the last 10 days, I've only had one meal at night, a small meal, and all I've done is just water and juice. That's it. I haven't done anything else. Nothing else. Nothing else.
I love it.
What if your lifestyle, was based on unconditional love and care for you and the planet? That's what Food Forest is, everyone. Whether you want to believe it or not, okay? All right? That's what it is.
It's like walking through a botanical garden out there, dude.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just an overload of beauty. A sensory overload is the analogy that I always give, where, again, we stop looking at it and we start being it. Yeah. And it is a beautiful experience. Like, where's my time with God? It's in the food forest. It's in the forest. It's in the flowers. It really is.
So why don't you tell me about one of your special food forests that you've done, just for fun? I just want to know, which one did you find really interesting? And also, which one did you find grueling to do?
Oh, man. I mean, if I can't be biased with the one I did in my own front yard, it really was fun because it bloomed like crazy. This is a very special place that I personally live over the last 8 years of my life. So to watch something come to bloom in the environment, I do have to say it was very special, to be honest. Every project is special in their own right. I'm trying not to be cliche right now. I would say that we've done some cool elements to some of our projects where, again, we start working with specifically the water here in Florida, right? So we can't limit the amount of rain that comes out of the sky and the water that's in Florida, but we can move it and we can use it intentionally. So if we can dig out channels or swells, we start to capture the water and we can passively irrigate, which means to water like plants. Irrigate means to like water plants. So if you can create these systems, we did this at Todd Pittner's house, for those of you guys that know him. And he has a swell in his backyard along his food forest.
Where?
He's in Tampa. He's in Tampa. So when the water comes down really heavy, it falls into the swell and it runs out of the back of his property so that he doesn't have a pool in his property, but it also passively irrigates the bed. So now we've created we've turned a problem, which is pools in the property of water, into a solution that's creating productivity, and it's functional. It gives him a more aesthetic property, a functional property, a productive property, and things like that are really fun because they take some diving into and some measurements, and you get really creative with it. So that's an aspect of these projects that I absolutely love, is working with the earth and shaping it in ways that support these systems.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. What tips would you give me or give my community if we decided we wanted to do it? What would you tell us?
Absolutely.
Okay?
As a community, get together, pool your resources, because even if one person had all of them, it's boring. Who wants to grow food by themselves? Get together, right? So that's number one. And 1B.
So find somebody that has a bigger property, and then everybody pitch in and make this beautiful, huge food forest abundance that then people who don't even want to grow at least can go for a walk and get connected to their original source.
Bingo, Daryl.
Okay.
It's coming together. It's having a common unity, right? Something that brings us together, and nature does it. Because if there's one thing that we know, again, it started at the beginning, is growing food is either the solution or a contributing factor to every problem that's in the world right now. I guarantee it. If people start localizing our food and water supply chains, we will change the structure of society. And it starts with us growing our own food in our own properties.
Do you think that you're being embraced? Do you feel that you're being embraced by more and more people from different types of places in life right now? Do you think do you feel the multiplication coming at all, or?
I do.
Like, I mean, how long has Food Forest Abundance been around? And
I think,
do you know?
I think it's the 4th year. This is the 4th year.
Okay, so let's take a look at growth. First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Do you see, is it starting to
Daryl, the conversations, germinate, dude. It's really starting to. It absolutely is. It's so cool because multiple things about what you're saying. One is the actual systems that we're planting are maturing. Yeah. Like you just said, it's taking root. So the systems are maturing, right? More people, you're sowing seeds literally and figuratively, right? It's like some people go see it and they're just not ready. We've had people that's like, man, I've been following Jim for 3 years. I'm ready to do something now, right? So now we're starting to see those effects that are showing up. We're starting to see people that are...
Isn't it kind of funny? I don't mean to cut you off, but all the beautiful things take compassion and patience. Dude. Okay.
Absolutely, man. It's definitely happening. Just people, I always say the two most common things, which is not getting into the whole story, but the two most common things that I hear from people when they leave Galt's Landing is, one, I need to start growing food, or two, I need access to land. So people get it. I say this too. I think that on a nervous system level, we as a species are not regulated, but we are becoming more regulated, right? But those who are not are, it's just an observation. We can just look at it objectively and say that people's nervous systems are not regulated. And to look at a situation and to see and experience the ease or the flow or the relaxation, people can't resonate with it, right? Because they're not there. So it takes time to do the internal work, because this industry is almost frictionless. It doesn't have the competition. Like, there's not farmers in competition with each other. We're trying to grow food.
But it's not even just that. I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to say this. This is really important, I think. people aren't used to the serenity and the calm of this type of project because okay, first of all, let's do some real stats. Okay, did you know this? That 3 times a week, okay, 50 years ago, we would have a drama trauma moment. 17 times before COVID. 120 times a day is what the average person is triggering their adrenals. And that's why everybody has these kidney problems or says that their adrenals are burnt out, but they're not. They're addicted to keep hitting the adrenals to try to find happy instead of looking for dopamine through natural ways of the human body or attaching themselves to nature.
Wow.
Think about it, 120 times a day, somebody's tapping on their adrenals to get a bit of a rush out of their life.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were hitting it for me.
Good.
When you said that, people come into it and it's kind of like too slow. It's not like pop a pill, have a thrill. It's not like just add water and stir. Okay. Yep. So they don't have the patience because they're running so much anxiety. It's like this. Why don't you take a look at how many people are bouncing their knee up and down all the time now, or bouncing their foot. That person will have MS or another neurological disease. They will. It's just going to come.
Yeah, and I think it starts to get into the discernment between like inspiration, because there's definitely times where arms up in the air, you're just juiced and happy, and you're feeling that inspiration, and you just want to go and you want to create and you want to serve and you want to build. But again, I think the wholeness has been a real big word for me. In the last couple of years is it's okay to have that where it's like go full speed, but also being able to relax and sit down, specifically like with my wife, and being able to be present with the family and not having the mind racing, needing to do something over there, right? So the beautiful harmony in both of them, I think, is what we're going for, right? And again, I just believe these natural systems support that. I really believe so.
Yeah, and the person that can't say that they can't calm down to do this is the person that actually needs it more than the one beside them.
Absolutely.
And that's it right there. Yeah, I totally agree. So what do we see coming up for Food Forest Abundance or yourself, or is there anything that you guys are dreaming up, like new projects? Like I know before you guys are doing it in prisons, you're doing it for schools, and I know that the whole creative team is always coming up with wacky things, probably, or things that we should do next. You know what I mean?
Yep. There's always fun stuff coming down the pipeline. But Daryl, you are right. We have installed in schools. We have obviously the backyard food forest is like the staple, just to put that out there, right?
Yeah.
But we've done it in schools. We have more schools coming on board. We have a project with the prisons. Again, we're actually in the process of getting funding. So if anybody here is interested in contributing to that, we have shown massive effects of having a garden and a food forest. I think it was a garden, which when the test was done on prisoners, I feel weird even saying that word, but people in that situation, massive impacts. We're starting to build communities. As I mentioned, the 14 acres, Galt's is a community. There's global ones in different.
What 14 acres? What's 14 acres?
There's a 14-acre property that's about 15 minutes down the street from Galt's land.
Is that where you are right now?
I'm at home, but I'm very close to it. I'm very close to it.
But you're working on a 14-acre one.
Community, yes. We are designing it right now. We are in the designing stage.
That's huge. That's huge. Is that the biggest one?
Yes. Small backstory is when I got involved in this work, when I met Jim and Galt's and everything, and Food Forest Abundance, I learned two things. One, this is the way to grow food. And number two, we needed to make it more accessible to people. And that means we need to develop land and really develop forest.
Oh, so this is actually going to be a community forest.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
So we're going in. What we do in the backyard food forest is we come in and we rip out the grass and then we bring in the food forest. What we're going into this property right now is, 60 to 80% of it should be functional. That doesn't mean 100% edible. That means functional, right? To where it supports life. So that's what our goal is. We're going in here and we're designing it. We're making sure that we have everything, the road going through it. There's a beautiful pond on it, dude. I was just there today. If I could send you the video right now, it is awesome. And we're going to connect the other ponds so that there's a channel between the two so we can help with the rainwater, so we can stock it with fish. We're going to run other channels throughout the property to help mitigate the water so that it's not flooding. But now you plant the plants along the side of it and you passively irrigate them and you run your gray water out to them. And it's all intricately connected into these systems. Where's the waste? We don't need to go out and bring anything in.
It's called
because
life.
we're growing everything in house. You can bring the chickens. It's a smaller property, so there's probably not a ton of cows, right? But there's a pond for like, dude, this is just the way to do it. And this is my call to action that, again, I am so passionate about. If there is people that want to see more of this in the world, let's talk. Like, let's band together.
Just think if every community had a place this big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would create a fever. The right
you create
kind.
good, healthy work, good,
That's
healthy
right.
jobs
Yes.
that people want to be a part of. You're creating housing that's now living in nature, in harmony with nature, instead of coming through and stripping everything out and putting these little white boxes on these mounds and then putting grass all around it. That's really what we're doing, Daryl. It's crazy. But anyway.
Yeah, I know,
focusing
but
on
like
the
everything else, and don't get me wrong, everyone, I'm not being negative, but the whole thing was a setup, okay?
Right.
There was just a small group of people who said, how can we make everybody miserable? Because guess what? That's what we get off on, okay?
You know, I asked this question to myself. I said, if God held me up in the sky and said, look at the entire globe and said, you see the rate that the population rate is going up, right? And I don't even know if it is at this point, but people are being born, right? How would you respond to taking responsibility for creating housing? And it's everything that I'm talking about. This is what I would do. I can't turn it off, Daryl. I know you know how this works. When you just see a filter through life of like, yeah, we should be building this everywhere. There's a reason why we named our install company Food Forest Everywhere, and it's Food Forest Abundance, because they need to be everywhere. What harm do we do by putting in fruit trees in schools? Where's the harm? Even if they don't eat from them, there's no harm. There's no destruction, right? There's no disharmony, right? Like, it's just natural. It's innate. And again, like you said, these kids, they see this stuff and are naturally attracted to it in the same way that wildlife are until they get deconditioned by humans. But I'm not going there.
Neither am I.
So it's fun, man. It's an honorable thing to do. It's highly productive. It's the most community-oriented thing that I've been a part of. There's an amazing group of people that are just so giving. They just show up and it's like, how can I help? These are my skills. I got online marketing. I can make a website for you. I have a healing product. I can put a shovel in the ground. People are just ready. People want it. They're hungry. And personally, I'm just choosing in my life to show up in a way that's going to support those people that are coming over to it, hands down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're doing. We're making this more accessible to people because it's time.
And if I can say something, everybody out there that has lost faith or they don't have a lot of it left, you're not listening to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pick a new storyteller and then create and write your own story. Write a Braveheart story. What is it that you want to do? What gift do you have that you could gift 1 billion people? Start off with just your family, but let's go after the masses. Okay, my friend, what would you like to leave everybody with?
Dude, just a call to action would be 1A and 1B. One is get to a food forest, get to a property, get to a farm, get to a garden, get into something that inspires you naturally. I always call it that innate intelligence. So get into a food forest. Number 2 is band together with people and start building, or continue building if you're already doing it.
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe. Yep. You're not alone. Nobody's alone. No. Nobody's alone. And no. And so everybody, www.foodforestabundance.com. Okay. And Cameron James, and he is the community design expert. And how do I get a free consultation?
I believe if you just go on the website, it's usually like when you start scrolling, it pops up. If not, I guarantee you can find it. It's very easy. It should be on the front page. It should be called a strategy session.
Okay, a strategy session. There it is.
Absolutely.
Gotta love it. Listen, my friend, thanks a lot. I really love talking to you, okay? All right?
Dude, love it, Daryl. Thank you so much, man.
All right, thanks for this, okay?
Take care.
All right.
Absolutely. All love.
Be well, my friend. Well, there you go, everyone. And Cameron James, and what a light, eh? So the reality is find your gift and go gift the world with it. That would be a really great thing. So let me just go back 1 second. I just want to show you this. Yep. So Monday, okay, I'm going to have Anita Stewart. Tuesday, Sophia Eric. And then we're going to finish it off with Jim Gale. And it's all 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Okay, everyone? And I just want you to know this, okay? Put a slight smile on your face. Connect to your breath. Put your shoulders back. Get a pen out and a piece of paper. Right at the very top, Braveheart Heroes contract. And then tell yourself, if I unconditionally loved and cared for myself right now, and I had unlimited possibility, and I knew the universe was working for me, what would I write on that contract? And then just take a half an hour or 20 minutes, please, and do that right now. And then tomorrow morning, go look at it. Tomorrow night, go look at it. Do it for 33 days. And I guarantee you that the universe will answer your call. And it's been answering your call for your whole life. Okay? You are the speaker, and you are putting the vibration out there, and you've gotten everything that you've put out. So watch what you think, watch what you drink, watch what you eat, watch what you say, okay? But work towards having a perfect day and doing that every day. God bless. Braveheart Nation, we got this when we come together, okay? One nation, okay? Have a beautiful day.